Hey, welcome in, people. Good to see everybody. As you show up, go ahead and feel free to comment if you like. Ask me some questions. I'm Dave Solentano with the Wednesday night guitar tricks classes on YouTube. Okay, tonight we're shifting gears, folks. Last 5 weeks we worked on rock and metal rhythm guitar styles. Tonight starts week 1 of 5 rock and metal lead guitar styles. So we're going to focus on more of lead guitar technique. Hey, Terry, what's happening? I see Terry's here and Ken. All right, cool. Scott, good deal. Rui, all right, cool. Some of the usual suspects. Hey, while we're kind of getting this thing going here, folks, underneath the video, if you expand the text box there, you're going to notice there's a curriculum you can print out. It's a blue URL link. Go ahead and print that out. That's the 2 pages that we're going to work on today. Pretty basic stuff written in music and tablature there for you. Okay. And the focus this evening is on hammer-ons and pull-offs. So I'm going to start out with some basic stuff. If some of you are new to the class or new to playing guitar, let me start out with some really easy concepts on how to get a good hammer-on and pull-off, and then we'll get into the slightly more advanced stuff. Roland's here. Hey, Roland. All right, cool. Some more guys and folks rolling in here. Danny, good. Cool. Dennis is here. Hello. Rui says fingertip pain day. Oh no. Yeah, that happens when we play guitar. And you know what though? If your fingertips aren't sore, you're probably not practicing enough. All right. So everybody that plays, at least when you're starting out, you get sore fingertips. So keep working with it, Rui, and you'll get over those. Okay. Steve's here. Hello, Steve and Kesso. Cool. All right, cool. Just pay attention. Listen when you can, Kesso. No big deal. Richard. All right, cool. Aldo. Do. Buenos Aires. All right, cool. Down south. All right. So I'm going to also give you a few demonstrations of some songs that we're familiar with that use hammer-ons and pull-offs. Okay, so a hammer-on essentially is where you're going to play any note on the guitar. It could be an open string, and then the hammer-on is always on the same string at a higher fret. So if I were to play the open first string, what I'm going to do is hammer on my index finger or any finger, but I'll use the index on this demonstration, and I'm going to hit it on the second fret of the first string. Okay, but I don't just gently put it down, I hammer it. That's why we call them hammer-ons. It's like the way you hammer a nail in. You want to give it a little bit of force. Okay, like that, not. Okay, you don't want to be too gentle with it because it's going to sound weak. The trick is with hammer-on pull-offs is you want to make them sound like you're picking them. You want to make it sound about the same volume as a pick note. Hammer-ons, pull-offs, and pick notes. Try to get them all the same volume, okay? So what we want to do is pick, and then that's your hammer-on. A pull-off would be the exact opposite. That's where you're picking a note that's fingered already, and then a pull-off is where you lift your finger off. Now, check this out. A hammer-on, you want to come down perpendicular to the fretboard in this manner, okay? You want to come down directly straight, like a hammer. When you pound a nail in, right, you don't do it sideways, the nail's going to bend. You'll get a better volume, everybody, if you come down perpendicular. That means straight down directly on the string. See how my finger comes down? Watch this. See how I come down straight. Okay, and you could do that anywhere. You could hold the third string, fifth fret, and then hammer on maybe with your third finger. Same way. Watch my third finger. See how I come down directly? And then you get a nice good volume that way. Pull-offs, though, are not the opposite of that. Even though you are going from a high note to a low note, in that respect, it is opposite. But you don't lift your finger out perpendicular, because if you do, it's kind of weak, right? It sounds, the volume of the second note is a little too soft. So a pull-off, the name describes what you're doing. You're actually pulling the finger downwards, okay? Like this. Watch my third finger. See, I kind of do a little flick downwards. basically a pull off is like you're plucking the string with that fretted finger, the finger that you push down on. Okay, if you got an open string, same thing. Say I'm on the 2nd fret, 3rd string, I'll pick the note and then watch my first finger. See, I yank it downwards, kind of off. And of course, you're going to run into the other strings underneath your finger, underneath the string you're on, but just try to not make too much racket or noise on that string. Okay, it takes a little practice. Sometimes I use the string underneath the one I'm pulling off on to kind of rest my finger on. Double purpose. It keeps my hand more closer to the fretboard and not fingers flying out all over the place. And it also mutes that next string so it doesn't accidentally. See right there, if I do that, I'm making noise on the next string. We don't want that. You want a clean pull off, where all we hear is the note and then the pull off. Okay, so that's basically how to do a hammer on a pull off 101. If you're a Guitar Tricks member, they've got great lessons on hammer on and pull offs on the site. So just up in the search bar on their homepage, it's pretty much on every page. They got a little search bar up top with a magnifying glass on the right. Just type in what you're looking for, hammer-ons and pull-offs, and maybe how to do hammer-ons and pull-offs, and then click it, and then any lessons that are on the site will pop up, and you can go through that. Okay, let me just take a quick look at the comments here. Robert's here. Hello, hello. And then Nocturnal Madness, right on. I like it. Zane. What's happening, Zane? All right, Second Chance Band. There's Marianne, the blues guitar player from Connecticut. And then King 50 up from Northern Nevada. Sweet, sweet. All right, everybody. So let's go ahead down the line here. The first example, example 1, example 1 and 2 are just pentatonic, A minor pentatonic. I'm basing these guys out of pattern 1. Okay, and all we're really doing is staying on the top 2 strings. This is a cool little lick to work on your pull off. Okay, so what we're going to do is start with the 8th fret on the 1st string, pull off to the 5th fret. And I'm going to do downstrokes on all these. Okay, so I'm going to go down, pull off. And I like to use my 3rd finger on this. Feel free, people, to use your pinky if you like. You can do that. I'll demonstrate both ways in a minute. Okay, once we get the lick down. So it does that on the 1st string. Then we jump quickly to the 2nd string, do the same thing. Okay, so you got, the trick is try to make all 4 notes sound even, not, we don't want to pause. You want it to go da, 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 da. Okay, you can even practice that. Sometimes it's good to do these little micro exercises where you take just a tiny little fragment of a lick and work on it till you get it locked down. And do it slow enough so that it's even. It's perfect. Okay, you could try that with the pinky. Okay, and let me point this out too. I would probably avoid barring your 1st finger, even though that might be more economical, because when you bar the finger and leave it there, what happens is when I pull off to the 2nd string, that note's still ringing. It kind of sounds noisy. See, we don't want that. We want more of a clean digit sound. That kind of sound. Hey, Ollie's here. Hello, Ollie from up in Canada, and Jamie's here. Cool, from Colombia. All right. Kind of a bunch of folks from south of the border of America here. Theodore's here. Hello, Theodore. Cool. All right. So we got the first 4 notes. Okay, now you can just do that over and over again. It sounds kind of cool. Or pinky it. Okay, but what's kind of neat is let's make a variation up off of that lick. So the first time I'm going to just do the 4 notes. Then if you look at the next 6 notes, it's kind of doing the same thing, but I'll play the 1st string 2 notes twice. So I'm going to go. Okay, so we got 4 notes and then 6. And then the next 6 notes are the same thing as the 6 we just did. So you get this little kind of a cool little syncopated rhythm that cycles around as you repeat it, rather than just going. Okay, you can go. So on the first string, it's like, I think of it as a single pull off on the first, then a double pull off on the first, and then a double again. So we got. Okay, guys like Zakk Wylde does that, like that kind of stuff quite a bit. A lot of other guitarists do too. Zakk is a beast. He likes to pick every note. You could try to pick them all, everybody, if you want, but for my money, I like doing the pull-offs. It's a little bit easier. And if you do them good, it sounds really good. And it doesn't sound too much different than picking every note. Okay? Now, let me throw everybody a little bone here. It's kind of neat. Let's apply this to some of the other pentatonic patterns. Now, if you're familiar with the term box patterns, a lot of guitar players refer to when they're playing out of the pentatonic scale, they call it, they're playing out of box patterns or the boxes, okay? Because you notice in your pentatonic scale, there's a lot of these rectangle shapes on every 2 strings, like on the pattern 2 that we're doing, or pattern 1, I'm sorry, we're doing here. The top 2 strings have this wide rectangle shape, okay? The second and the third string have sort of an offset shape, but then the third and fourth string are frets 7 and 5. They're a smaller rectangular shape. Okay, and strings 4 and 5 also. Okay, even on pattern 5 that goes below it. You got those little rectangle boxes everywhere. Okay, so what I want to do is just stay on the top 2 strings. Pattern 5 that exists right below pattern 1. Okay, that one right there, we're going to look at the top 2 strings. It's just frets 5 and 3 on both strings. Okay, so I'm going to apply the same sequential lick where we're going, but I'm going to do it with these notes on the 5th and 3rd string. Sorry, 5th and 3rd fret on the 1st, 2nd string. Okay. Okay. Then I'm going to jump up, do the one we just did, for example, 1, 8 and 5 frets. Now check this out, pattern 2 of the pentatonic scale. The upper 2 strings on that is frets 8 and 10. Okay, same lick. So you got 3 little rectangle box shapes you can rip that lick through. And it's always good to end on the root note. If we're in the key of A, there's your A right there. Okay, kind of a neat little idea. Let me just take a peek at the comments here. Richard saying, are there certain amp settings to use to promote hammer-ons and pull-offs? Well, Richard, yeah. I mean, right now I've got a lot of gain on, and since this group of lessons we're doing for 5 weeks here is on rock and metal styles, that kind of has a little bit of this overdrive. But we should be able to do this even on acoustic. See what? Let me grab my acoustic for 2 seconds. All right, here we go. We'll be back to the electric in 2 secs, folks. You need a good way to practice them too, Richard and everybody else watching. Maybe practice them with a cleaner tone, okay? Or on acoustic. Acoustic is harder to play. The strings are a little heavier. The action's a little higher. It's going to make your fingers stronger, though. And it might even hurt your fingertips a little bit because the strings are a little tighter and thicker. But that's just going to build up your calluses, and it's going to build up your finger strength. So if you can do them All right, we're close enough in tune there. Okay, so in terms of amp settings, Richard, use a little bit of overdrive gain for the rock sound, but you don't want to use too much because then it gets kind of noisy. And we really want to let the fingers, make sure the fingers and the pick technique is solid, and then the amp sound sort of colors. It's sort of like icing on the cake. If you've cake, which is the fingers and your pick technique, if your technique is not solid, playing with a little bit of gain or overdrive isn't necessarily going to make it sound better. It'll just kind of make it sound noisier. The imperfections will be magnified. Okay. So I would really suggest to work it with a clean setting, and let's get that back in there. Work it with a clean setting, even though I'm going to be using the old high gain here because I like it. But work with the clean setting and try to play it cleanly, Rich. In terms of amp settings, though, just kind of, I usually set my mid-range to about 12 o'clock, maybe a little more, 1 o'clock. And I usually cut the bass back to about, maybe if you're thinking of the face of a clock, I usually keep my bass at about 11 or 10. And then my treble, I put it up to like 1 or 2. Every amp's going to be a little different, so you got to kind of play with that. But generally, that's what I like to do. So the guitar's not too, if you have too much bass on the guitar, it sounds a little too woofy. I like the guitar to sound nice and crunchy and precise and very articulate. And we'll let the bass guitar handle the low ends, okay? We just want to give it some meat and some a little bit of crunch there, okay? Russ is saying, what gauge strings do you use on the acoustic to make hammer-ons and pull-offs easier to do? Well, I just use, on the acoustic, Russ, I use 10 gauge strings. They're like extra light acoustic strings. I'm not a fan of the gigantic, huge ones that some guitar players use on acoustic. They say they sound better, get a better tone, and they're louder. I agree. But I play electric. So when I jump onto the acoustic, I don't want it to be like night and day, easy and real hard to play. I like my acoustic is set up to be very comfortable to play, but the strings are a lot thicker than what I've got on the electric for sure. But I use 10 to whatever the bass is on acoustic. It might be like a high 40s, maybe a 48 or 9, or might even be a 50. But the high E is definitely a 10, and it goes down from that. Okay, Rui's saying, I was told before the amp also amplifies your errors. Yes, Rui, exactly. That's what I'm saying, folks. If you play it cleanly, if you can play it good with no overdrive, no distortion, then you're almost there. All right. That is going to sound real good. Once you get the overdrive on the amp, though, sometimes there's these other sounds that come out from other strings because that overdrive magnifies them. So you're going to really need to work with muting the other strings. Like you notice when I'm playing this, look at my right hand. I'm just leaning it on all the strings because if I don't palm mute and go. So you can hear all that stuff ringing. But when I play it like this, see, there's nothing. When I'm done playing, you don't hear anything. Okay, see how clean it is? And usually when I'm done playing, I always touch the strings to shut them down. And just from playing in bands over the years, as soon, when we're playing loud, my volume's on 10. As soon as we're done playing, look what I do. I quickly roll my volume down to 0. So there's nothing. So there's no feedback. You don't hear any buzz from the amp. You don't hear anything. And it shuts it down immediately because part of playing live, folks, you want to sound professional. You got to sound clean. You don't want a bunch of noise going on when you're done playing, and then everything's ringing. I just shut the volume down so it clears all that up. Okay. Absolutely. All right, cool. Dave from Cleveland. Cool, Dave. Good to see you here. Now let's move down the line, folks. Example 2, another with pentatonic scale. This is trilling, where we're going to do hammer-ons and pull-offs back and forth. So look at the first string. There's 6 notes on it. It's going, I start with the 8th fret, pull off to the 5, and then I'm not going to pick anymore. I'm just going to keep my right hand muting the thicker strings. Okay, everyone? I'm going to go pick, pull off to the 5, hammer to the 8, pull off to the 5, 8, 5. So I'm going to go. Basically, I do 3 pull-offs and 2 hammer-ons. Then we go to the next string, same thing. Next string, same thing. And then end it on the root. Carlos Santana does a lick like that in, I believe, Black Magic Woman. He does it in D minor. Okay, here we're just in A minor. So working on trills is a good way to develop your muscles on your left hand. And again, the trills will be a little bit harder to do on your acoustic. So try it on acoustic, or maybe even clean it up. Let me give you guys an illustration here. I'm going to change my guitar tone dramatically. Let's get that going. Blah, blah, blah. Let's shut off the delay. We don't need to hear that. And on the amp, let's get a little more volume. Okay. Okay, here's a great example. The folks wondering about getting it clean and what's the good amp setting. Led Zeppelin's Over the Hills and Far Away. It's a great song. The intro to it is classic, and it's on a acoustic guitar. Let me get a little better sound there. Should be on acoustic. I'll just try it on the electric here so I don't have to keep going back and forth. But everybody's heard this, I'm sure. I would seek out that song if you want to develop your hammer-ons and pull-offs. That's a really cool one to work on the intro. It's got a lot of hammer-ons and pull-offs there. It's got a very folky bluegrass vibe to that. Okay, so let me get back to our classic sound here right now. Okay. There we go. Okay, another good one is Thunderstruck, AC/DC. The beginning to that. All pull-offs. All right. Get the idea. Okay, we're going to check out a cool lick on example 4 in a minute that's going to go a little further across the fretboard. Let's tackle number 3, though. This is another trilling lick, but this one's using, see my text after it says example 3, it says trilling with harmonic minor, trilling with harmonic minor scale. Okay, so we're going to be focused on the key of A for today. All the examples are in A minor. So you could find a backing track or a song in A minor and try some of these over that. Okay, so the harmonic minor scale is just like a regular natural minor scale. I'm going to maybe go a little bit over some of the listeners' heads, but I'm going to play it for you and talk to you about that in 2 seconds. Let me just check out. Second Chance Band says, one of my favorite workouts, Over the Hills and Far Away. Exactly, Marianne. Cool. Yeah, we talked about Thunderstruck. Now let's work on this harmonic minor scale for a minute. If you know your natural minor scale, all we got to do is change one note. And if you let me step back for 2 secs. If you don't know your pentatonic scale that I've been talking about in the first few examples, in Guitar Tricks, we've got the scale finder. It's a really cool tool in the toolbox there where you can literally put in you can select the key you want, but select the name of the scale, and then bam, they populate all the guitar necks diagrams with the patterns for that particular scale and that key. All right, it's really cool. It's really easy to use. So I would highly suggest if you don't know your scales and you want to work on lead guitar, instead of just learning a few solos, and you might sound pretty good with it. And I know there's a lot of folks on YouTube and even some of my students that have come to me over the years. They can play real good. They can play a Randy Rhoads solo or Stevie Ray Vaughan. But then I talk to them about, well, what scale is it? What's that note there? And what's going on here? And they don't know. They can play it really good, but they have no clue as to what's going on. So I really advise everybody, I know it's not fun to do, but sit there and practice your scales. Man, when I was a kid learning guitar, and that's one of my warm-ups, I would run through all the patterns of pentatonic up and down the fretboard. Do them in threes. And backwards. And I do the next pattern, same thing. Play it up and down, then do it in threes. And then I do my natural minors. Okay, the natural minor scales, which what I'm going to do right here is show you how to do the natural minor. It's the same as pentatonic patterns, but it has a couple extra notes. So if you know your pentatonic scales, folks, that's a great foundation, a great building block for learning other scales, because the other scales are essentially the pentatonic patterns with a few extra notes added. Okay, so not every scale is going to be like that, but that's a good way to start. Pentatonics first, and then once you know pattern one of pentatonic, okay, fill it in with these notes. On the sixth string, you would go 5, 7, 8. String 5, same thing. 5, 7, 8. Fourth string is just got two notes, 5 and 7. Then the third string goes 4, 5, 7, and these numbers I'm calling out of the frets. Second string is 5, 6, 8. First string is 5, 7, 8. Okay, you notice there's 3 notes on almost every string. So the pentatonic scale has 2 notes per string in each pattern. The natural minor has 3 notes per string on most of the strings if we arrange them 5 in the 5 patterns. Of course, you can play any scale 3 notes per string, but that's something we'll get into later. I think initially it's better to learn the 5 pentatonic patterns, and then with those same 5 building blocks, you're going to fill in the blanks and learn your 5 natural minor scales. Okay, take a quick look at the comments real fast here. James, all right, Anton is saying, hey. All right, Rui says, one note, huge difference. Love the harmonic minor. Yes, Rui, we're getting there. All right, I'm just kind of taking a long road here. Okay, so your A natural minor scale is the same scale Jimmy Page uses in the Solo for Hotel California. Okay, you want to be able to do it up and down. Okay, you notice that it sounds a little more, there's more smaller intervals in it. So it has more of a gradual step up and step down. The pentatonic scale has wider intervals between the notes, so it sounds a little more angular. Okay, it's almost like sounds sort of like Asian or Chinese music a little bit. I believe that in that culture, some of their music is based off pentatonic scales. I think there's, in my Monster Scales and Modes book, I've gotten the back of all the exotic scales, and there's Chinese scale, there's a Japanese scale. Marty Friedman got me turned on to those exotic scales, and he was really, at the time I was studying a few lessons with him, he was really into this Japanese scale thing. Okay, that's something else we can talk about another day. But back to our pentatonic, filling in the blanks to natural minor. That's a good way to start, folks. Okay, now quickly, as Rui said, the harmonic minor is just one note difference from that natural minor. The seventh note is raised a half step. So let's count those notes, everyone. And when we do theory, they usually assign numbers to the notes. And of course, the notes also have letter names, but when you assign them numbers, it helps us to understand the theory behind the scales, the chords, the intervals a little bit better. Okay, because, well, let me just show you what we've got there. So the first note, we're just going to call 1, then 2. The third is a flat third, but you don't need to worry about that now. The fourth, the fifth, the sixth is a flat 6, but don't worry about that now. The seventh note is that one. What we're going to do is raise that a half step right there. Now that G is now turned into a G sharp. So when I play G up here on the second string, 8th fret, I want to extend it up to the 9th fret. So we're going to go. You hear that scale a lot in classical music, classical Spanish guitar, heavy metal. Okay, anyway, so hear that sound? Okay, it's got a unique sound. Sounds very Middle Eastern, kind of exotic, kind of Spanish. Okay, that's the harmonic minor scale. The example 3 that I've got here for everybody, this is doing hammer-ons and pull-offs, trilling. Trills are basically just like an example 2, where you're going to pick one note and then do hammer-ons and pull-offs, several of them back and forth. Okay, so here we've got, we're going to start on the 4th and 5th fret, starting with 4, and we're going to do 2 hammer-ons and pull-offs. Okay, so pick 4, hammer to 5, pull off to 4, hammer to 5. Okay, and then I'm going to exhaust every half step. The half step on guitar is 1 fret apart. Okay, and there's a bunch of them in the harmonic minor scale. You've got 4th and 5th fret. You got 7th and 8th on the 6th string. On 7 and 8 on the 5th string. 6 and 7 frets on string 4, the D string. 3rd string is frets 4 and 5. 5 and 6 on the 2nd. And then I took the G sharp that was on the 2nd string, 8th fret in the scale, and I relocated it to the 1st string, 4th fret, so I can do the half step trills there. And then we got up on 7 and 8. You got a ton of half steps. So what's really fun to do is do a little trill on every half step. And then, of course, we want to end on the root, because just stopping on one of those random notes, it doesn't sound like I'm done until I hit that note. Okay, that's example 3. It's also kind of cool, everyone, to do it backwards. Okay, I was playing a little lick last week. That's using the harmonic minor scale. Okay, it's actually that's a mode of the harmonic minor scale, but he said it basically is the A harmonic minor. But I've changed, instead of thinking of it as A, the key of A, I think of it as E, but it's the same notes that we just played. Okay, it kind of gives it a little different characteristic there. Okay, who does these half steps harmonic minor? Randy Rhoads does them a lot. A lot of metal guitarists do these. Heck, he does this in several songs, Mr. Crowley. What's that other one that they do on the first Ozzy album? Revelation, Mother Earth. It's great, great mellow tune, but at the end, they climax with this awesome riff and rhythm and then a nice little solo. It kind of goes. Something like that. And then Randy takes off with this solo, all half steps here, folks. All right. There we go. See, a lot of half steps in there. This is in E harmonic minor. So Randy just locates all the half steps and goes right up them like I've just showed you guys. Then on the first string, he just goes diatonically. In other words, we're playing every note in the E minor scale at that point. So some of them are half steps, some of them are whole steps, but they're still trills. And a little pedal point. Then a nice cool harmonic minor. And there's the harmonic minor note. Whatever he does right there. But it's a great little rhythm, man. Little diminished chord right there. Okay, anyway, it goes on, but we don't need to hear all that. That's really good illustration of trilling harmonic minor. Randy Rhoads did a lot of hammer-ons and pull-offs. Even those little licks there when he's going, what is it? There we go. All hammer-ons and little trills. He only picks one note and hammers, then trills. And in a different lick. Okay, hammer-ons and pull-offs are real important if you want to be a lead guitar player. And it just doesn't work in rock and metal, everyone. Blues does a lot of hammer-ons and pull-offs. Country music, when they're chicken picking and doing all that fun stuff, a lot of hammer-ons and pull-offs too. So these are really good to get down. Okay, let me kind of keep steamrolling on ahead here. I'm going to be bringing up a little more Randy Rhoads stuff too, so hang tight. Feel free, folks, too. I know there's a lot of folks watching. If you have any questions about what I'm doing, feel free to pipe in like some of the folks watching are doing. And if you got ideas, maybe something you want me to cover in a future lesson, I always take suggestions and I'll work on it, fit it in, and eventually get some curriculum for it and get it done for you. But Also, if you have questions that are unrelated to what we're doing tonight, but it's still music and guitar, I don't mind kind of getting off track a little bit that way either. Russ is saying, out of my league right now, but great musicianship. Oh, cool, Russ. Hey, Russ, just keep practicing, man. Hopefully, I'm not above everybody's head with all this stuff. And if anything, I just want to be here to support you guys and ladies, guitar players, and give you some encouragement, man. It's just practice. And if you love doing music and love playing guitar, just try to find some time every day to work on a little bit. Even 15 minutes a day will get you advancing. Of course, the more you do, the faster, the sooner you'll get there. But just try to pick it up and work on some new things too. Okay. And I always preach this, everybody. Try not to be try not to always play the same stuff. Be one of those guitar players that can play like 5 or 6 songs and then that's all they do. And they wonder why they're not getting any better. Well, because they keep playing the same 5 or 6 songs. Stop playing the songs. Trust me, if you learn something really good, don't keep practicing it. Move on to something else. And trust me, even though you might forget that song that you knew real good, and I'll bet like Second Chance Band from Connecticut, Marianne, I'll bet she can agree with me on this. But you learn something really good, and even though you might forget it and might not play it for a year or two, when you come back and touch on it again, of course you're rusty. I'm rusty too. But because we had it down, we developed the muscle memory on it a long time ago. When you come back to it, it comes back pretty quick. All right. You do have to practice it to get it back, but it's not like starting all over again and learn something new. It works all the time. I can't keep practicing everything that I've ever done over the years. So when I need to do it for a gig, like when Guitar Tricks asked me to do one of their a song for them, most of the songs I've done with them, I have never done before. Some of them I've taught, for years to my students, but most of the songs that I've done on Guitar Tricks, I've never played before I did it. So I had to learn the song. And then when I'm done doing the tutorial for it, I usually never play it again unless a student requests it. In which case, once I crack it open with the student, like I was doing a Dawkins song, Burning Like a Flame. Did that for Guitar Tricks, so about a year ago or a little bit less. It was about a year ago, and I hadn't played it since then. And I couldn't. If you ask me right now, I can't remember how to play it. I'd have to open it up and review it and get it back in my chops. But I had a student want to learn it, and then he subscribed to Guitar Tricks, and we were working off of that tutorial on there. And from doing that, it just all came back. Like during his lesson, once we were working on the intro, and he was working on it, and I just kind of ran through it and saw what it was again. It came back within 20 minutes or so. Okay. So let's see what Rui's saying. And Marianne, Rui said, HP stuff brought me more frustration than stuff like bar chords, etc. But claiming your first victories feels great. Don't give up. Yeah, Rui. Yep. Yeah, just keep at it, man. If you can't do something on guitar, it might be out of your league, and you need to be the judge of that. Unless if you take a lesson with me or another instructor, usually the instructor can sense if whatever you're doing might be out of your league, and in which case maybe just don't work on it for a while. And as an instructor, I or whoever you have should be able to find something else that you can work on that will challenge you, but that is just a little bit out of your league, not miles, but just something that you can't do now, but after a month or two of practice, you will get it. Okay. That's what I got to do. I do that with my students all the time. I find out where they're at, and I give them stuff that's just a little challenging for them, makes them squirm a little bit, but that's how you're going to get better, is working on things you're not good at. Okay. So Rui, keep at it, man. You'll get there. Just keep practicing. All right. Second Chance Band saying agreed. Always easier once learned. Easy to brush it off after not playing a song for a while. Absolutely. Thanks for that little input there, Marianne. Appreciate it. Okay, so it's like Revelation Mother Earth, right? I just played you guys. I used to teach that a long, long time ago. In fact, I haven't played it or taught it in probably over 10 years or longer. All right. And right before the class, I knew I've got to pull out a Randy Rhoads tune. I didn't want to do Crazy Train because I've done that many times before. And I thought Revelation might be a cool part to play. So I just popped it up on YouTube, played through it a few times, got it all back. And within 20 minutes or so, I got it to where I just played it for you guys right now. Yeah, so just keep practicing at your stuff, folks. Keep your chin up, keep practicing, all right? Let's go down to example 4. I want to make sure to get through what we got here because we also have something on page 5. Those are a little bit shorter. Okay, this one's kind of fun, folks. This is a good pull-off exercise, a little bit of a stretch. We're all on the first string. Kind of reminds me a little bit of the AC/DC thing. It sort of sounds like tapping, like Van Halen would do, but it's not tapping. And I think I heard Metallica, Kurt Hammett doing something like this during one of the old Metallica songs. But the lick here goes like this, folks. We're going to pick the 12th fret, pull off the pinky to the 8th fret where your index is, and pull that off to the open. So we're going to do a double pull off. Okay. We're going to do that 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then I move back to frets 10 and 7. Same thing. Move back to frets 8 and 5. And then finally frets 7 and 4. And then end on the 5th fret because it's the root. We're in the key of A. Notice that I've got a chord written over each bar. Look at the first bar. It says A minor. Next one says E7. Then we're back to A minor. And then we're back to E. And then ends on A minor. It's a very common chord change. The 1 chord, E7 would be the 5 chord. 1 to 5, 1 to 5. So listen how these notes fit the A minor because these notes are in A minor. Then these notes are part of E7. Then these notes are part of A minor, 8 and 5. And then 7, 4, pardon me, is part of the E. And of course, the 5th fret first string is your A note. That's the root of the chord, the key we're in. Okay? So the one common note between A minor and E that both notes or both chords share is the E note. So that's what makes doing this lick kind of neat over those chords because that open E string is in both chords. So A minor, E7, A minor, E. Okay. Now, for my old days teaching, and it's one of the perks of living in Los Angeles, is through the years, I've had a lot of students. I've had several students that have gone on to do some really big stuff in the music industry. And I've also had a few students that used to hang out with Van Halen. I had one student whose sister dated the brothers. I had a couple students used to see them in backyard parties. Unfortunately, I moved out to Los Angeles in '85, so I missed all that old before they got signed era. And I've had a couple students that took lessons with Randy Rhoads over the years. Well, they took lessons with Randy Rhoads, and many, many years ago, I had a couple students that took lessons from him. In fact, one of my friends, Chet Thompson, who produced my Wicked Music Box album, he taught in one of the music stores I taught at, and he's great guitar player. I think his band back then was Hellion, and he had a few other bands, but he took lessons with Randy Rhoads. And just from that, I found this solo part that Randy would do live using pull-offs like this. And it was kind of neat. So I thought it was kind of a neat little thing. I'll play it for you here. So it's basically doing what I just did, but then we're going to move it to the second string and do it. So we're going to go. Then the second string, same frets. So you don't, oops, sorry. Then the third string, Fourth string, a little bit different here. Fifth string. Okay, so all together. Okay, kind of a neat little flashy thing. It's not that hard to play once you get your pull-offs down. Okay, a neat little twist to that, folks, is even though it's not written there, do them as hammer-ons. So just play the three notes instead of going 12, 8, 0. Start with 0 and then hammer on 8, hammer on 12. Try that. It's not written down on the tabs, but that's a benefit when you are watching this live or you watch the video here. You can get extra stuff that's not in the curriculum. Okay, check this out. 0, 8, 12, 4 times. Next one will be 0, 7, 10. Then 0, 5, 8. 0, 4, 7. And then you end on the root. Okay, and you could apply that to the little segment from Randy Rhoads Live Solo. Little palm mute. Okay, so some neat little variations on that you can kind of expand. In fact, I encourage everybody to take what you learn and try to apply it in a song, try to expand upon it. Like the trills we did initially, we were doing, well, why not, instead of doing that on ending on the fourth string, why not do all 6 strings? Go. Okay, maybe do it with the other pentatonic patterns. How about the low one before it? Okay, anything you learn, try to take it a little bit further. All right, good ideas to do there. Okay, all right, let me go ahead and flip the old page. You guys do that with me. We're on the last part here. Real briefly here. Cool, thanks, Marianne. Yep, very cool, very cool. And then greetings from Cleveland. All right, cool. Itis Rael, I think is how you say that. All right, cool. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Okay, so let's wrap up with example 5 and 6. This is another neat way of playing your scale. Instead of picking out, this is another. Well, here, let's play the notes of example 5 just without hammer-ons and pull-offs. Let's just play it, or actually without hammer-ons. Okay, it goes. Okay, it's one of the other patterns up the fretboard of the A natural minor scale. We're starting with A. And this one's a nice one to play, kind of easy because it has a little symmetry here. Watch, the 12 on the string 5, and then on strings 4 and 3, we're doing frets 9, 10, 12. That's pretty cool. Nice that it's the same shape. And then on strings 2 and 1, we're at frets 12, 10, 12, and 13. Okay, so you got 2 pairs of strings that have the same shape. And then we want to end on the root. Okay. So a lot of guitarists do this type of playing. I call this legato style, where you pick one note and you doing 3 notes per string. You pick the first note, and then the next 2 are hammer-ons. Or if you're going down, the next 2 notes would be pull-offs. Sammy, let's go, Brandon. Right on. All right, cool. So Randy Rhoads would do that a lot. Mr. Crowley, He's got that one lick. There's something he does in there, but that first part, he just runs up the scale. 3 notes per string, all hammer-ons. Mr. Crazy Train, after a trying to remember as I do it. Okay, and then this part, I got to get under the guitar. A lot of trills in that song, a lot of hammer-ons and pull-offs, a lot of legato. Okay, so example 5 here is a nice little speedy way of playing the scale quickly. Van Halen, Edward does that kind of stuff all the time where he'll play 3 notes per string and just legato. A lot of his fast stuff like that, he's not picking much at all. It's a lot of left hand hammers and pulls. Anyway, get that here. We're going to do some tapping, I think, on the 5th week of this. And just to give you guys a heads up, next week we're going to be working on string bending and vibrato. And heck, what rock or metal solo or any solo, what would it be without a little string bending? You got to do string bends, you know? Go over all that and getting that vibrato that you can use in blues. You can use vibrato in any style too. Okay, we'll go over that next week. Okay, let's wrap up with example 6 is example 5, but going backwards. Okay, so we're going to start with the 13 on the first string and just get used to playing it with a pick. And then you always want to end on the root to give it a sense of resolve. Okay, but to get the legato, the smoothness out of it, we're going to pick the high note, basically the pinky notes on the way down, and then pull off, pull off. Okay, just kind of work that in there. Yeah, anyway. There we go. All right. So great working with everyone tonight. Talking back and forth with everybody. Theodore, you're very welcome. Cool, cool. Thanks, Second Chance Band, Marianne. Cool, Danny. Yep. Awesome, everybody. Yep, I'm going to sign out. Join me next week. We're going to move on to the string bending and vibrato and spend an hour talking about that. I'll give you some pointers. The takeaway from tonight, people, maybe some of the stuff might have been a little too advanced for you. Some of the people watching, it's probably pretty easy stuff, but work with your hammer-ons and pull-offs because that's a major part of playing guitar. Even if you're just playing rhythm guitar or acoustic, like I played earlier, that Over the Hills and Far Away, Led Zeppelin, that's a great intro to that song for working on your hammer-ons and pull-offs. There's a lot of other classic rhythm riffs that have hammer-ons and pull-offs too. So get them under your fingers and take some of the ideas I've got here, see if you can expand upon it, play it in other keys, play it in different areas on the fretboard. Okay. Great stuff, everyone. We'll see you next Wednesday night. Everyone be good. And yeah, cool. All right, Roland, good to see you here. And King 50. All right. Thanks for everyone. Terry, Dave, Kenneth. All right. Everyone have a great night. We'll see you next Wednesday, same time. Keep them fingers flying, everybody. Keep practicing. We'll see you next Wednesday. All righty. Bye.